Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We have seen people often misuse, abuse, and use indiscriminately the terms of genocide, crime against humanity, war crime, and so on. And this is done by the people who are quite capable, by the political leaders, by the national leaders, and sometimes by the common people. And all this is amazing. These loaded terms can have a negative effect and can incite, excite, and create problems. Recently, the Sikh fundamentalists raised the question of referendum about making Punjab an independent country, seceding it from India, and alleged genocide of Sikhs without any evidence. And it was mostly because they did not understand the meaning of genocide. US President Joe Biden has accused Russian forces of committing genocide in Ukraine, saying that Vladimir Putin appears intent on trying to wipe out the idea of a distinct Ukrainian identity. Now, this is the logical. The word appears intent because for genocide, intent is the most important thing, as we'll see. The Ukrainian president himself, Zelensky, has accused Russians of genocide over the discovered hundreds of bodies of civilians in East, and he has seen that the dead bodies have been seen in those areas which are controlled by the Russian forces, especially in the bloody siege of the southern port of Mariupol, and he calls it a crime against humanity. So we look at the different categories of the most serious crimes known to man, which the International Criminal Court (ICC) is supposed to set up, prosecute, follow up. And as a matter of fact, this court was set up precisely for the reason to prosecute people, nations, for genocide, for crime against humanity, for war crimes. Neither Russia nor Ukraine are parties to ICC. They don't accept the jurisdiction. But Ukraine accepted the jurisdiction for crimes committed on its territory when Russia invaded it in 2014. Now, what is a war crime? That's the first crime people have heard. War crimes are those serious violations of international law against civilians and combatants during armed conflict. One example was when the Pakistanis and the Indian forces were exchanging fire. The Pakistani forces cut the head off a Indian soldier and took it away as a trophy. Now that's a war crime. It's a desecration of a body. The parameters of what it constitutes a war crime are set out in Article 8 of 1998 Rome Statute that established ICC. It defines war crimes as a grave breach of Geneva Convention held in 1949, covers more than 50 scenarios, which include killing, torture, rape, and taking of hostages, as well as attacks on the humanitarian missions like hospitals, ambulances, Red Cross, and other community organizations which are only working for humanitarian basis. Article 8 is very comprehensive. It also covers deliberate attacks on civilians and, to quote it, towns, villages, dwellings or buildings which are undefended and which are not military objectives. So the non-combatants in any form are supposed to be protected. It also covers deportation or transfer of all or parts of population of an occupied territory. The Ukraine's authorities say that they have received 5,600 complaints of alleged war crimes by the Russian forces since the invasion started, that is February 24. So war crimes is essentially when the war is being waged. It's quite possible those crimes can be committed during peace, but then they would not be designated war crimes. They would be covered either as crime against humanity or crimes under civil law, but not a war crime. And war crimes are always against one nation or an aggressor, an occupying force. So war crimes are very specific. Then comes war crime against humanity, which can be in peacetime, it can be in wartime. Now, while the war crimes are covered in Article 8 of the Rome Statute, the Article 7 of the Rome Statute covers the crime against humanity. And it was first considered to be a crime on August 8, 1945, then codified. It involves a widespread or systematic attack directed against any civilian population. It includes murder, extermination, as well as enslavement and deportation or forcible transfer. Crime against humanity can occur during peacetime. You need not be in war and still you can commit a crime and include rape, torture, discrimination, and that discrimination can be racial, it can be ethnic, it can be cultural, it can be religious, or it can be gender based. And if you look at this, you will find this practically most of the places. Then comes the most misused term, genocide. Any killing of a group of people is deemed to be genocide according to a common perception. But legal concept of genocide is not very old. It started from Nuremberg trials of Nazi war criminals. And it was a Polish Jewish lawyer, Raphael Lemkin, who coined this term. This term was coined to describe the Nazi extermination of the 6 million Jews, the Holocaust. And the crime of genocide was formally recognized in the Geneva Convention of 1948. It describes acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. So when a group as a whole is targeted, either by the state or by the forces aided and abetted by the state, because state can always intervene, then it's a genocide. And let's not deny that and forget that genocide is a very specific international crime. It's not a national crime, but then it can happen in nation. It happened in Myanmar when Rohingyas were supposed to be victims of genocide, or Uyghur Muslims in China. So it can be there. But though it's a very specific crime, you can never prove it. There can be 101 arguments advanced that this was a civil commotion. It was a disturbance. The forces were acting wrongly. And Professor Cecily Rose, professor of international law at the University of Leiden in Netherlands, notes that the most important aspect of a genocide is to prove the mental motivation behind it. And that's why Mr. President Biden, when he said there is a clear intent He was referring to that. Until the mental motivation is proved, genocide is not there. But now, a new crime has been added to this lexicon. There were three earlier: war against humanity, war crimes, and genocide. And now the newcomer is crime of aggression. This crime was added in 2017, and it includes attack on the sovereignty of a country, territorial integrity of a country, or political independence of another country. So it's basically government to government, country to country, state to state, nation to nation. The offense of the crime of aggression aims to ensure that the political and the military leaders are held accountable for their invasions. You cannot go and attack another country, but then it cannot then be used against the dozens of ICC members because they have not recognized the court's jurisdiction for the crime, and it cannot be used against the non-members. So, for example, there are two countries which are fighting with each other. You cannot blame one country if it doesn't accept the jurisdiction. And that's a problem with the international law. And the legal experts say that bringing such a case against Russian president would require first the establishment of a special tribunal. And setting up a special tribunal is not an easy job. So these three terms used earlier, war crimes, crime against humanity, genocide, and no crime of aggression, are absolutely distinct. And it's absolutely wrong to use them in ambiguous terms, and people often use it. But that's a self defeating thing. There are specific crimes which can be dealt at a different place, and that's the ICC. But as I said, the most glaring lacuna in that is that you cannot prosecute the people, the country, who do not recognize its jurisdiction. But sometimes you use force. You remember President Norton was arrested and brought before the tribunal for this crime against humanity. But that's a political decision. When each man was kidnapped from Argentina by the Israelis, they did not go to ICC. They took him to to their own country, Israel, and hanged him. So basically, these crimes have a limiting factor, but they are horrible crimes that nobody can deny. And it is important to awaken the conscience of the humanity against these crimes. But to misuse them, as some people do misuse them, is also wrong. These crimes have to be differentiated from the normal crimes because state directly or indirectly is involved. The country directly or indirectly are involved and thereby hangs a tail. So next time we use the word genocide, a crime against humanity, be sure where you are. As I said, war crime can be a crime against humanity, but crime against humanity cannot be or may not be a war crime. So it's important to differentiate and understand the nuances of these terms before applying them. And that's extremely important. Thank you.